All right. So here we are. We're at 420 Post Live again this week. And this show, we're looking at the non plant touching folks because, in the end, cannabis or a hemp business is still a business and needs all sorts of other services, including banking, including real estate, which we'll cover today. And of course, law, CPA, HR, you name it, still a business. So we're going to be giving some of those companies coverage. But first off, before we do that, we're going to go to Rick Thompson. He's going to tell us all about those great cannabis headlines, including Detroit finally came into the fold, right, Rick?
Oh, that's so true. And that's literally a story that's about 24 hours old. Here at 420 Post, we are covering the cutting edge of cannabis news in the industry. This is the Cannabis News with Rick Thompson on 420 Post. Thanks for joining us. Let's begin. I'm just waiting for my document to load here. We did have a wonderful weekend. We did have a fantastic time with the Hash Bash Cup, Monroe Street Fair, and all the other associated events. But today marks the beginning of a new program at the Marijuana Regulatory Agency. Monthly reports summarizing enforcement actions taken by the agency against licensed cannabis companies are now being published. And a quick look at March's summary reveals most of the fines are for incorrectly displaying products by using non-conforming package types. CCG Holdings and Baldwin received 2 fines of about $2,000 each. Stateside Wellness was hit with a $2,000 fine for improperly labeling cannabis products in store. True North collected hit with a pair of $250 fines for discharging their reverse osmosis backwash into a Great Lakes watershed, which is a marsh connected to the Grand River. Don't do that. Seems like small stuff, though, compared to Thrive Enterprises fines from last month, which include a total of $250,000 of fines to be paid for allegedly trying to trick the MRA into allowing a transfer of license from one party to another. Naughty, naughty. Pharmaco last month was ordered to get rid of several owners who are banned for life from owning cannabis entities in Michigan and were forced to pay tens of thousands of dollars in penalties for delivering cannabis to liquor stores and non-medical cannabis consumers in Detroit. Speaking of Detroit, they did finally pass that new adult use cannabis ordinance in the Motor City. Yay for you. There are 2 types of licenses contained in the new rules: limited license types and unlimited license types. Unlimited license businesses include cultivation, testing, transport. Limited license types include all those plant touching guys, including social consumption lounges, micro businesses, and cannabis retailers. Now, legal challenges are still expected in the limited license type category, just like the previous ordinance was challenged in court and defeated. But this ordinance contains severability, meaning if the courts determine that the scoring method used for cannabis retailers is found to be unconstitutional, those unlimited license types will still be okay to operate. Now, that's good news, and it's a huge advantage for people like Chris Weber and Al Harrington, who are currently cultivating or have broken ground on new construction for mega cannabis farms in the D. Now, during Tuesday's hearing, City Council, many residents expressed feelings the city would be overrun by cannabis companies whose opportunities for growth were expanded by council, but whose responsibility for financial assistance to the city's struggling nonprofits had been diminished by the very same council. Unlimited adult use license types will begin their application process on April 20th, 420, but the limited licenses will take a little bit more time beyond that date before the city is ready to accept those applications. And final story, as we mentioned before, this past weekend was Hash Bash weekend in Ann Arbor. 4 large events took place: the bash itself, the 20-year-old Monroe Street Fair, the Hash Bash Cup, and Great Lakes Expungement Network's Treasure Map Adventure. All 4 events went off quite well, despite a 1-hour delay in starting the Hash Bash due to an electrical failure, which was corrected by the University of Michigan's campus staff. Featured at the bash was the state's Attorney General, Dana Nessel, who directed her comments at the growth of the state's regulated marketplace and the need to protect medical cannabis patients from discrimination. The Monroe Street Fair was expanded this year to include Tappan Avenue. The Hash Bash Cup offered national music acts and the state's most respected cannabis competition, too. And that treasure map contest had several hundred people visiting a dozen different Ann Arbor cannabis-friendly locations to collect stamps and complete their map. Winners in that contest were drawn randomly yesterday during our Jazz Cabbage Cafe television show. All in all, a fantastic weekend of fun and cannabis consumption in the nation's de facto cannabis capital and freaking harbor, people. And that's it for the cannabis news with Rick Thompson on 420 Post. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Rick. Yes, we were just chatting it up before we started. We were all there, but Dan, I was there with Dan Sparrow, and we didn't run into all these other folks. We were somewhat distracted, shall we say. So, but it was fun. Speaking of Dan Sparrow, let me go to him, and then Jamie just came in on my board, but let's go to Dan for his review. And you can also, I think that was your first hash bash, wasn't it, Dan?
Yes, it was. I had been to Hash Bash back many years ago, back in the 90s before Monroe Street Fair. So I had been to Hash Bash, but nothing of this magnitude. And to be honest with you, by the time we were there, we were feeling pretty good already. So I don't have a huge recollection.
Mellow. I think the word is mellow. So.
So anyways, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Cannabis Review with Dan Sparrow. Today, we're going to review these loud flowers that I got at Body and Mind, or BAM, here in Muskegon. It's one of the newest dispos to our lovely town, and they're going to be on Apple Avenue, 885 East Apple Avenue. So if anybody's coming to Cannabis, just talk to them in there today, and they're going to have some specials as well. So they open at 9, Cannabis is at 3, so you can always stop in there. This loud flower is somebody that they partnered up with out of Jackson. I don't see it in any of the other stores, so that's why I'm doing this one today. This particular one, I had tried this earlier with some friends that stopped by, is Lychee OG. The gentleman at the shop was very informative and told me all the strains that were in it and how it came about. And it's always nice to hear those things, but obviously at the end of the day, it's smokability. I got a Mac, and this is Wedding Bone. So I got 3 of them today. They're about $13 a piece. He gave me an industry discount and obviously another discount, but we won't get into all those deals. They're a multi-state operator. They have shops in California and Arkansas, Nevada, Ohio, and Illinois coming soon. They were one of the first shops I seen with the wild edibles as well, and they have those there for $20 for 100 milligrams. They're a newer shop. They don't have a ton of brands in there, but I did see some Canico for some edibles. They had some mitten extracts in there as far as carts. No edibles from them, but cloud cover was a lot of what they had in there. And the general manager had came from a high profile store, so he obviously had that relationship. So they have a ton of cloud cover in there, but we just recently got our own high profile, so can't imagine they're going to be having that for much longer. A lot of choice stuff. A lot of new shops get choice just due to all the SKUs that they have. Midnight Roots, the chocolate bars, big fan of those, and I'm hoping to meet up with that gentleman as they just recently got licensed. And they have some Michigan and some Wonder Bread coming. So those are always fun companies as well. For mentioning the podcast, the gentleman said that they have a bunch of free samples that they'll be passing out, and also 10% off, and then additional 10% off if you come between 9 and 11. So they're trying to drum up some of that early bird business. Outside of that, it was a nice clean store. They're going to get some different brands in there and some different companies, obviously. And I wish them the best of luck. And I had a great experience.
Hey, Dan, can I ask you, did you mention a strain name was called Wedding Bone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think we won't touch that one, right? So
he told me what was in it too, and I already forgot.
Okay.
A lot of blood.
Nothing beats titty
And
sprinkles.
I love these names. He comes up, these folks come up with these names and he describes them, and it's just amazing to me, So speaking of amazing, we have Jamie Cooper, who has joined us because she just came off her big networking event that ended at 1:00. So I know she rolls in real fast. So There are so many events, which is wonderful because we've been 2 years of no events. And now in April, you got an event going on all the time, it seems like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
and-
okay, okay.
And the
Just-
last time I seen you, you actually were rolling.
Roll.
Yeah, we did run into Jamie. That's true. She was.
I
there with her
wasn't
husband.
rolling. I was pushing.
Yeah.
I tell you what, that was some hard work. I have so much appreciation for caregivers of handicapped people, like my husband broke his leg and I was pushing around. I thought I was going to die trying to push him up a hill and I accidentally almost dumped him over in the middle of the road too. I felt so bad. I don't think
Accidentally, huh?
I hope you got good insurance.
I don't think he ever wants me to push him around in a wheelchair ever again, and I don't blame him.
So technically, Lance was the one rolling.
Yeah, Lance was the one rolling. Absolutely. He was rolling. He broke his leg. We went to Mount Bohemia back in February and broke his leg. And I told him, I was like, there's a lot of walking around at Hash Bash. You don't want to crutch that. So he took my word. And he was a trooper. So, but Hash Bash was awesome. Had a really great time. It's always great to see everybody in our community. Did you guys see the leaf blower with the weed smoke? Holy moly.
Exclusive brands.
Yeah, Exclusive was out there with a leaf blower. I saw people in front of it just inhaling as much as they possibly could. For me, I probably would have had an asthma attack. So now on to events. Let's talk about all the awesome events. Obviously, 420 is just 2 weeks away. We started our distribution on the Cincy Magazine grab bags. We have 1,000 bags that are going to be distributed into 20 stores throughout the state. So make sure you mark your calendars, arrive at your local provisioning center. We will announce our participating partners on Friday. So keep your eyes peeled for the Cincy Magazine Instagram page, Facebook page. We'll make the announcement of where you can find those bags on 420, but mark your calendars because they go quick. If you end up showing up at noon on 420, you're probably going to miss it. You might want to consider being there when the doors open at the stores because there are 13 THC products in those bags, and a huge shout out to all of our partners that made that promotion possible, and a big shout out to Botanical Company who helped us do all the sorting and all the fun stuff that goes with putting those bags together. Shout out to Cass. Man, this bag is going to be awesome. And then Emerald Transport also did the transportation for all of the bags, so shout out to them as well. Now, April 20th and 21st is the Michigan Cannatech Expo. You can go to MICannabisExpo.com to get your tickets to that. If you use the promo code Cincy22, then you will get 50% off of those tickets. I am going to definitely be going to Mount Pleasant and the Soaring Eagle Casino to be a part of that event on April 20th. Probably going to make some stops at some of the local provisioning centers. That's the day to get some really great deals. On April 23rd is the 420 Music Festival in Lansing. So there's that going on as well. It is in celebration of 420. They're not hosting the event on 420, but they're doing the celebration this Saturday after 420. And then on April 30th is the Michigan Reggae on the Riverside Music Festival. That's shaping up to be a stellar event. We just gave away 2 tickets to that event on our Cincy Connects virtual speed networking event that we just hosted. And then in May for Cincy, we are hosting a Women in Cannabis event on May the 5th at Causeway Bay Hotel. There will be consumption there. It's an invite only event. So if you want tickets to that, shoot me a message on social media. I'll give you, I'll tell you how to get there and what's going on, and cannot wait to bring women in our community together. We're calling it a potluck and pamper party. We're all cooking some amazing dishes to share with each other. And then we're going to pamper each other. We're going to have massages, all that fun stuff. And then on May the 18th is the MLive Cannabis Insights event. It's their first face-to-face event since COVID. They'll be hosting that event. And then that evening, we will be doing one of our Cincy Connects party. That's all I have. I'm almost out of breath. Man, we have a lot going on. More events are hitting the calendar, and I expect to see our event list continue to increase every single day. That's all I have, Mike.
Let me also throw in, since I work with the hemp folks, that their conference, I can do it. Their conference is May 20th and 21st at the Lansing Center. I will be there as a moderator for some of the panels. I'll also be presenting the Hempy Awards on Friday night. May even wear a tuxedo. Yes, it's true.
Ooh.
And so I think, Jamie, you're going to be there too, are you not?
I will be there. Yes, that's May 20th, and I cannot wait. Lansing, correct?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
and then they
Lansing
did it
Center.
last year.
It's at the hotel rooms are at the Radisson, so you can walk over that bridge they have over to the Lansing Center. So if it's inclement weather, you don't get wet or whatever. Hopefully, no snow, right? And so, yeah, that's that this year they're going to do it. So it's a combination, not only the hemp folks, but the cannabis folks, because, hey, it's the same plant, right? So,
Right.
and in many cases, you need, as we're emphasizing in this show, you're still a business. You need all these other support services. There's going to be a lot of folks there that'll work both sides of the THC spectrum. And so I would encourage you all to sign up for that, get some tickets. I don't think ticket prices are very much on that.
I was looking this morning. They're only $40.
Yeah,
Totally
cheap,
worth it.
And if you're looking to get into the business, or if you're in the business and you need service and support, that sort of thing, there's going to be a lot of folks there that you'll be able to face-to-face discuss it with them. So I would encourage you to check that out too. Speaking of service people, let me bring in Aaron Ambender now. Aaron is with BankMichigan. He actually is our newest sponsor, and we much appreciate that, because it's tough getting all the bills paid in this economic climate these days. And what Aaron is one of the several banks in the state that are cannabis friendly. And we were chatting it up before the show, talking about what he's doing. But I don't want to speak for him. So go ahead, Aaron. Why don't you just I always assume in all my shows that no one knows anything about whoever we're talking about. So let's start with that backgrounder. What is BankMichigan? What services do you provide? That sort of thing.
Absolutely. First of all, Dan, Mike, thanks so much for having me. Rick, Jamie, pleasure to be here. I'm honored to be on with Harry as well today. We're super excited and proud that we're able to support 420 Post. I know I've been working with you guys for some time now, and to finally make it official, we're honored and privileged to be part of this. BankMichigan has been around. We actually went through a branding name change about 2 years ago. We were known as Onstead Community Bank prior to that, but we've been around for over 100 years. I came in when they started the cannabis-friendly banking program here, and been incremental in developing that, figuring out our fees, figuring out the products and services that we're able to offer, and really wanted to try to do something that makes us stand out. We're a smaller bank to some of the other folks that are in the game now, but we came out with a really unique structure. We don't base our fee structure on deposits. We have one flat fixed monthly fee that remains locked in for a period of time. So it makes it very easy for the business owner, whether they're a dispensary or cultivation, testing, you name it. Anybody in the industry will find it very easy to, especially those controllers and people that take care of the money with these businesses and growing businesses at that it's going to be an easier fee structure than they may see with some of our competitors.
Any other points you want to make before we start?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. So some of the things that also make us unique is that we are able to do what we call pre-license accounts. This is a totally free account. And so if it's a business that is in the middle of phase 1 or phase 2 or even pre-phase 1, they're looking to get into the industry and they still need to pay the bills, pay their contractors, pay their employees. This is a great, totally free checking account, just like any other business would have, because they're not licensed yet. So there's a lot less regulation. So we're able to facilitate that quite easily. And all of our accounts, whether it's cannabis related or one of these pre-license accounts, comes with every banking feature that most folks are accustomed to, with online and mobile banking, remote deposit capture, all of the services that you would assume come with having a business account at some of the larger banks out there, we're able to provide for cannabis.
Okay. So let me open it up to the team. We were chatting up with Aaron before we got started. Some good points came up. Feel free to leap in.
on those pre-licensed accounts, let's say, for instance, you're a caregiver and you're sitting on, a couple $100,000 of money that, you've acquired over the years of being a caregiver. Would you guys be able to take that money in?
Yeah, absolutely. In banking in general, we don't like to see what we would define as mattress money, right? But if they have that at another bank, and what we see a lot, Dan, is these folks that are caregivers or getting started in the industry, a lot of the banks that aren't able to be cannabis friendly, right? As soon as they start to see some deposits that are related to our industry, those systems red flag those folks. And I see more and more folks, or more and more entrepreneurs, I should say, coming over because they were shut down by their existing bank relationship. So yes, to answer your question, we can facilitate that.
Yeah, I think I mentioned for our business, we don't even touch the plant. We're just a news service. We tried to set up an account with Comerica, and they made us jump through a whole bunch of hoops. And if we kept saying, we're just a news service. And finally, after about a month of vice presidents intervening, we finally got that set up. So crazy, right?
It is. There's definitely a lot of red tape, and the banks, typically your larger banks, they look at it as a risk versus reward kind of thing, right? If they make a mistake with all of the FINRA compliance that's required, and all the hoops that they need to jump through, if they were to violate those things, it could shut down larger portions of their bank. And sometimes cannabis isn't their biggest piece of the pie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the start of Sparrow Consulting, we were all caregivers and they were all just paying us in cash. And we went through the gambit, Chase, Fifth Third, and then finally our personal account at PNC. And so we started, and everybody knows the story very well, as we're Dart's very first cannabis client, but we worked with Dart very closely back in 2017. So, I mean, that was a long time ago, but I know that BankMichigan is somebody that I refer a lot of people to as well now. You guys have a nice program over there as well. It's the financial compliance piece to this cannabis industry that is going to get a lot of people caught up and almost did. There was a rash of that about a year ago, people really scrambling. And so banking is a very important piece to this.
Yeah, Dan, you just reminded me that we also, just a point of note here, we can open these accounts remotely. We're able to service anywhere in the state of Michigan. We have clients up in the UP, Ironwood, for example, which is right on the border there. We have some great clients. So that's another kind of a peace of mind. We don't, BankMichigan doesn't have a footprint of branches all across the state. We're more of a business bank, if that makes sense. But we can service anywhere in the state, which is quite convenient for the customers. They can do almost everything virtually online.
Yeah, I think that's important because I believe you have 5 or 6 locations, right? Physical locations, or am I wrong on that?
Actually, it's fewer than that. We have 3.
3.
So,
okay. All right.
Yeah, we were a very small bank that originated out of Onstead, Michigan. Our headquarters is currently in Brooklyn, Michigan, not far from the MIS Speedway there. And then our office, where we operate the specialty banking unit, which is our cannabis friendly program, is out of Ann Arbor.
Of course, yes. Well, as Rick said, Cannabis Central, right, Rick?
That's right. The de facto capital of cannabis in the United States of America. Yep.
Yeah.
And Aaron, so much has been made about the federal restrictions on banking and how difficult it is for the industry in all 50 states to be able to launch correctly and successfully because of that. Several states out west have tried to modify state-based banking regulations in order to facilitate the industry. Is that something that you find to be successful? And if so, is that a program that Michigan could emulate and then help your industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. From our conversations with MRA and also our folks on the banking regulator side, FINRA and a few other groups, that's being looked at and considered. That will certainly open the competition up and add some of the other institutions that are not in the game right now. Right now in Michigan, there's about 20 banks and or credit unions that are cannabis friendly. So when you look at the several thousand banks that are here in the state, that's a small number. So great question, great point. A lot of what Michigan did in the banking was emulated by what they did in Colorado to kind of map they took the goods and bads from that and learned. And that reminds me of another thing. It kind of leads into another area where banking is really just starting to get into, and that's lending. We're super excited. I can't make any official announcements yet, but we're so close. We actually work with some third-party lenders right now. So if someone asks me, do we have a lending offering, I will refer them to a third party. Officially, Bank Michigan isn't there, but all I can say is our board meeting's in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I've been filled in on the details, but I'm sworn to secrecy. So let's just say it's going to be good news, right? We'll leave it at that.
Yes. Yeah.
And then for the folks that bank with you, you offer direct deposit for their employees. Is that a feature? Because I see a lot of banks, the big guys, kicking a lot of these cannabis checks back. Especially if it's Indica LLC or something like that.
Right. That's a great point, Dan. A lot of those big banks, they'll literally red flag anything that they see in, whether it's a consumer account and or business account. Because we're a cannabis friendly bank, we are absolutely able to facilitate employee accounts in the cannabis industry. Those are totally free checking accounts. They can get they can get, they can take a picture of their deposits. They can do direct deposit, everything that would come with a normal consumer account. And then they don't have to worry about being shut down. When we meet with a business, that's one of the other services that we offer. And a lot of times, those employees are very happy to hear that we're also able to not only partner with their business, but also open up a personal account for them. And they don't have to worry about, first of all, fees, and then second of all, being shut down and having money locked up for a certain period of time while that happens. And that also reminds me another point, if I may, that in 2 weeks, that board meeting also is going to open us up to consumption lounges and micro businesses. And there's a lot of banks out there that can't touch those two spaces. So I'm very excited about that as well.
That's amazing. So, in all honesty, if someone was frugal with their dollars, could they get an interest-bearing savings account?
Yes.
Thank you.
And if they, at this board meeting that I cannot talk about, I think that under discussion will also be something along the lines of getting loans for cars and houses, right? I mean, because that's a real bugaboo if you're in the industry. People look at that and go, I ain't going to loan you money, right? So
yeah, that's a great point, Mike. And that also will have to remain classified.
Yeah, I didn't say that, so I deny it. So but go ahead.
I think some of that will come a little bit down the road, but that's definitely on our radar. We'll be very excited to share with you guys those announcements as they come out. But that, it's very hard. A lot of the existing clients that we have right now who are in the industry, especially the owners and those employees that are trying to qualify for a mortgage, when a lot of that housing money comes from the federal government, FHA and Fannie Mae, there are massive limitations by the larger brokers out there and larger lenders out there right now for them to qualify. So that's definitely something we have close on the radar.
All right, we'll leave it at that, and certainly we'll get Aaron back after this aforementioned board meeting to make all these announcements that I'm aware of, but I can't talk about. So yes, I know I'm talking. So let's take a short pause here for our shameless plug. I got my business partner here, Dan Keelan, who's the publisher of Michigan Marijuana Report and does all the stuff that I don't do. I write the stories, I produce the show. He does everything else. So what are we talking about today, Dan? I know we got so many things going on. What did you select? So
yeah, so I guess I'd like to talk about things that are relevant to the theme today, which is all the companies that support the industry, the people that don't directly touch the plant, the banking, people like Harry, legal and that, because we've got a lot of ways that we can involve experts like that, companies like that. And I just we've talked about them before, but I wanted to remind people of what they are and encourage folks to reach out to me or reach out to Mike. So the first one is this thing we've been calling the 420 sponsorship. We've been promoting it for a couple of months. It's going to expire on 420. And it basically gets you in as a sponsor of this show, our website, our Monday and Thursday newsletters, gets you on the new Flora Global Directory, And we've discounted it in order to get interested people to jump on board. And so anybody who's still thinking about that,
2 more weeks. You have 2 more weeks.
yeah, it's a 42% discount off of what we would like to be charging you, but it gets you down to $420. So that is something that is still current, and we're encouraging people to work with us if you're interested. Again, especially if you're a professional services provider of your expertise to the industry. We think our media is a great way to connect you to the cannabis community. Number one. Number two, we're heading into the final stretches with the survey. So industry survey is accessible. The easiest thing is to go to MIMarijuanaReport.com, click on industry survey. Or if you're in social media, you'll see it promoted in places like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. The more people we hear from, well, the better we know about the industry. The more we know, the more Mike and I know about what to do with, our efforts. We don't have a date yet. We're scheduling a mid-May live webinar. We'll reveal and talk about the survey and what we think it means for the industry. And so that's another way we'd love to get cannabis servicing companies involved. And then finally, just a reminder, anybody that does any of that with us becomes part of the Michigan Marijuana Report Small Business Network. And that is, that's an extension of the Small Business Association of Michigan. So SBAM is statewide, 30,000 businesses. And this is something that came from some relationships that Mike had. But basically what we've done is we've created a group that's a subset of SBAM. Anybody who works with us becomes part of that group, which means anybody that works with us gets what you would get if you bought the, $350.
No, $249 is the premium one. If you were buy SBAM membership on your own, $249, heck, we throw it into
Right,
the package.
throw it in.
So
And you get access to the 30,000 members. Importantly for SBAM, they get access to cannabis businesses. So if you think about the mission of this show and our publication, it's really to connect lots of businesses. And there are lots of businesses statewide that are hearing more and more about the potential of cannabis, but they don't really know, they don't know the people who are in the business necessarily. So we think the partnership with SBAM is going to help with that matchmaking. And if to me as a business, that right there is just a great reason to sponsor the report, because you're automatically made a member of SBAM. It doesn't cost you a penny more. It comes with any size sponsorship. And I think the upside to being connected to all kinds of businesses statewide is a great one.
I think it also legitimizes it in the eyes of a lot of businesses who maybe have personal reasons. They just don't like cannabis, or they think cannabis people are crazy, or whatever the thought might be. If SBAM is getting behind it, that's a very conservative business group, and they're embracing it wholeheartedly. So,
sure. Well, think of it this way: it's run by Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is the former lieutenant governor of Michigan. He's a Republican. All the things that people stereotypically may think about one party or another or an industry, that's whatever it is. But if you're a business person in Michigan and cannabis is the third largest cash crop in the state, then whether or not you feel like smoking a joint really is the question. The question is, you've got a security business, a freight forwarding business, you're a law firm, you're a financial services consultant. There's a big market for you to tap into, and working with us and getting you connected through SBAM is a great way to start to do that.
Okay, I'm watching the clock. I think I got your 5 minutes in. Are we good?
Good job.
All right, thanks. Stand by. Stay with the show
Thanks.
if you can, Dan. I'm going to bring in some more support folks. Harry Barash, who I've known Harry for a couple of years now, and has one of the bigger Facebook groups, Michigan Cannabis Professionals. Last I looked, you're pushing 8,000 members, somewhere in that ballpark, right, Harry?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, around a little over 7,000 and growing.
Okay. And then Barton Morris. I don't think either of you guys have been on the show before. Barton, you might have been. I can't recall, but we've been doing this for a couple of years and I'm kind of losing track of who has and who hasn't. But welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Okay. So these two powerhouses have got together, and I'll let either one of you explain what you're doing instead of me trying to ham-handedly explain it. So somebody take the ball here. Harry?
Go ahead, Barton. Well, in my years of representing people trying to get into the industry and representing people in the commercial cannabis industry, what has become very clear is the importance of the acquisition of and identification of property, real estate. As we know, in order to get a license, you have to have the appropriate real estate. And particularly in Michigan, it's important because municipalities get to choose where and if those where their properties would be located within their city at their zoning. So and just my complicated or the difficulty in finding real estate professionals that I thought my clients had a significant difficulty in identifying good real estate professionals that had some knowledge of the cannabis industry, because a lot of real estate professionals typically just didn't want to put in the effort or didn't want to put in the time necessary to do a little bit more research and understand what is necessary in order to define or to identify the appropriate properties. And so I just decided that my law firm, the Cannabis Legal Group, should add a real estate broker company, a licensed real estate broker, in order to be able to better serve the industry. So we can combine our legal services with specialized commercial cannabis specific real estate experience and knowledge. So I got licensed. I'm a licensed broker now. I was fortunate enough to find Harry, who is very experienced, obviously, in the industry, and it comes with a great, of course, like you said, his Facebook group, but his reputation, his experience is really just like fantastic. And so I jumped at the chance to have the opportunity to bring him on as a real estate agent, and now we're going to be servicing the industry, I think, in a manner that is going to be an excellent service to the industry.
Harry?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of piggyback with what Barton is saying, it was a great match. We definitely both thought about it long and hard and made sure we were making the right decision. And it was at the end of the day, it turned out that it made a lot of sense. It was definitely a 1 + 1 = 3 collaboration. We both appreciate and respect each other's skill sets and talents, and kind of stay in our lanes. And Barton is obviously one of the pioneers of the cannabis legal industry, and being in a partnership with a cannabis specific legal company certainly gives my business more value, and just having access to more resources and having access to attorneys, to be able to walk down the hall and say, hey, did you hear about what happened in Detroit? And I'm sometimes the last to find out. So it's good to be part of a group. And I was kind of just a lone ranger the last couple of years, and having an opportunity to work with Barton made great sense, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be partners with him. And we hope, we look forward to servicing the community.
The name of the company is CGL Realty Advisors.com.
Okay. And I'll open it up to the team. I'm sure you have questions for him, so fire away.
Hi, guys. And Barton, of course, I've known for, I don't know, a dozen years perhaps now. We've been back for a long way. The city of Detroit just passed their recent ordinance. One of the restrictions that is hampered cities is the 1,000-foot federal drug-free school zone policy. Oftentimes, cities will require a 1,000-foot buffer zone in between what they call controlled uses. for example, 1,000 feet away from a liquor store, 1,000 feet away from another cannabis-based business. But in Detroit, there's rumors that they wanted to go down to a 500-foot buffer zone, which would certainly open the city up to a ton of new opportunities. Barton, Harry, do we have any information on that buffer zone situation in the D?
Well, I've been told that that is a secondary topic. They wanted to focus on and get the licensing portion out first. And this is something that the city attorney told me. Now the city council will move on to the buffer zone. Of course, controlled uses like liquor stores is not included in a school zone, right? So like that is, and school churches and liquor stores, really Detroit's the only one that I'm familiar with. I know there's some other cities that have restriction amongst churches, against churches, but the city of Detroit's the only one that I know of that actually restricts and creates those buffer zones with churches and liquor stores or other controlled uses and liquor licenses. So it is reasonable for them to think about reducing that buffer zone. It's going to be necessary really for them to be able to provide the opportunities that they're looking to provide to Detroit legacy applicants that don't have property, because the fact is there is no property. There's no available property. All the property has been taken by medical licensees or medical marijuana retail establishments that have taken those spots for many years now. So if they're going to look for opportunities to provide property opportunities to other people, they're going to have to change something.
And we, of course, have been working with Detroit since, I don't know, 17, 18, and their very unique definition of protected industries include home-based daycare centers. And the city is just so full of things like churches, which still have a license, but may not be holding services regularly. It was quite a challenge for business owners in the city to try and find a place to go. But as you mentioned, Barton, most of those green zone properties are already snatched up. So if we create opportunities for social equity applicants, but there's no place for them to locate their business, what was the point, right?
It's not an opportunity. It's nothing but really talk. And that's exactly why that city had gotten so much grief about the last ordinance, is because the last ordinance being the one that was struck down by the district court, the federal district court. They opened it up and had all these people, Detroit legacy applicants, spend money on pre-qualification and spend their time on hiring professionals, hiring lawyers, getting pre-qualified, and then they put out some promise that there's going to be the availability of city-owned properties. And all of these people came out and spent this money and time and effort and hope, generated a lot of hope, just to have the rug pulled out from underneath them. And so that was really inequitable, unfair. So I know that now they're going to try to fix that somewhat, because nobody really knows how many properties they're going to free up. And all I know is now that is the next step. They've finished now and they've passed this ordinance that, of course, we probably anticipate was going to result in another lawsuit. And now they're going to move on to the zoning ordinance.
Harry, in the state of Michigan, it seems as if there are hot zones for real estate opportunities. 2 years ago, the Lake Huron shoreline up by Oscoda and Tawas was just booming, and there were lots of opportunities. But as Jamie and Dan know, one of the places in Michigan that really doesn't get as much attention as it should is the very wealthy West Side. What's the real estate market look like on the West Side of Michigan nowadays?
You know, every market is different. You know, every situation is different. If you're referring to, you know, let's just say Grand Rapids, Grand Rapids is still a very viable market. When you get into municipalities like Muskegon Heights, I think it's, as I'm sure Dan will confirm, is a little too late to the party there right now to maybe try and establish a retail presence. When you have, municipalities, like, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, which are obviously, two different markets, but, kind of the same market. because they are in close proximity to each other. Battle Creek, obviously, I think we all know is very saturated. And the retail in general, appears to be getting a little flat. Retail sales are going up, but there's obviously a lot more dispensaries that are opening, and it's getting harder and harder for retailers to kind of get their piece of the piece of market share, because there's just 350 or so retail shops open in the state now, plus or minus. So, retail is still, the hottest category, because I think we all know where cultivation and processing is heading. Hopefully there will be some renewed interest in, the micro business license with the new 300 plant count. Consumption lounges, I think, are going to be a very popular category. I think that business model should prove itself. And I think that will be a very active category. But, there's a lot of factors involved. And I think what people don't tend to really take into consideration is, if I'm going to go into a market like Grand Rapids, you have to have either, you have to kind of be as early to market as possible. I think that's very important for a retailer. And physically, you have to have, one of the better retail locations, because retail is based on location, location, location. So, you could still be late in the market, but if you have the best site, I think that puts you at a puts you at a advantage somewhat. But, and then you have to ask yourself, what type of retailer do I want to be? Am I trying to be a higher profit margin, lower volume retailer where I'm getting my margins, or do I want to be a higher volume, lower percentage profit margin retailer, which what you're seeing in Battle Creek and Bay City, and with the $50, $75, $100 ounce specials, so you kind of, every market is different, every area is different. There are, some guys that haven't reduced their prices and they're fine with it. It's just like the gas stations, how much do you want to be higher than or lower than the guy across the street? And you can kind of cater to a different audience, or you can, try and cater to, more of the masses.
Jamie or Dan, do you have questions?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, just a couple of weeks. Oh, my bird. My gosh.
Bring her into the
couple of-
shot,
I know,
so.
right? So a couple of weeks ago, there was an announcement that municipalities were getting checks for $56,000 per store that they allowed in the municipalities. Are we seeing more opt-ins because of that now? Do we expect to see more municipalities try to get in on that?
I don't think so. Although I did note that the director did tout that number and believe that would be a result that more municipalities would opt in. I think municipalities opt in because they like the other economic benefits of having facilities in their city, other indirect economic benefits like increase in economic activity that comes from increase in the number of jobs and employment, but also the development or redevelopment of property, which I believe is one of the main reasons why municipalities opt in. They like the fact that they can find, or they can take property that perhaps it hasn't been used or is underused and has been redeveloped, where they will increase their tax base. So there's a lot of economic benefits, but $53,000 per facility a year is not generally a lot to a municipality's budget.
Now, are we seeing real estate value go up because of cannabis businesses?
Do you mean surrounding real estate?
Yeah.
With retail, you can you might be able to make a case for it, especially if it's a higher volume location. Anybody wants to, everybody wants to be next to, likes to be next to Starbucks because they bring a lot of traffic into the area, and some of these retailers are bringing in 500 people to 1,000 people a day. People are people, and if you have a good complementary offering to those people, then it will, they'll definitely, some will definitely be drawn to your business. Industrial, and the industrial market in general has been pretty healthy, before cannabis, and then once cannabis got, once more and more growers started coming online, the price of industrial real estate, was exponentially more than just traditional industrial real estate. But right now, what you're seeing with industrial is it's pretty much the same price. Cannabis real estate, industrial cannabis real estate, and industrial real estate. I don't really see a super premium or a premium for marijuana industrial real estate unless it's in the Metro Detroit area. If you're going into some markets that are, that have no cap, like Flint and some other areas, you're definitely going to see probably a lot more inexpensive opportunities out there. What you're also starting to see now is existing businesses coming for sale, existing brands, cultivators, retailers, and turnkey operations, buildings that are partially built out, turnkey and operational, and even, I think what you'll see after those guys is the ones that are licensed and permitted and approved. And then if you're not licensed and permitted and approved, those are probably going to be the last that are going to get snatched up, just because, by the time you start your process and build it out, and, you're looking at 12 to 18 months down the line. And, I gave up on predicting what the pricing was going to be. So I don't want to make that prediction anymore. But, it's obvious, we all know it's going to change. We all know it's going to be a roller coaster, but maybe some people might want to wait and weather the storm. You're definitely going to have some of those people. There's advantages and disadvantages to going into an existing operation versus building something from scratch. So you're definitely going to see a different book of offerings out there in terms of opportunities that won't just be startup businesses anymore.
Mr. Sparrow, I know you've been wanting to ask a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jamie actually asked all of the questions I was going to ask.
Darn, Jamie.
Are you guys gonna do something similar to what Bricks and Mortar tried back in 17 and 18? Are you gonna have a portfolio of properties that you're like the listing agent of, or does someone just deploy you and tell you what the area they're looking in?
Yeah, so we offer services for buyers and sellers. We are, probably going to be more focused on the listing side of the industry, and buyers are, this industry is doesn't really cater itself to represent buyers exclusively, because they have a lot of relationships. They are looking on their own. The business really, in terms of getting exclusive relationships would be on the listing side. And you can check out our website, www.clgrealtyadvisors.com, and see what we have. We're actually, that particular tab is currently under construction. We've got several listings that we're finishing up the marketing packages on before we put them up there, and we'll have some product to show. But we are always looking to work with sellers to market their properties, as we will have a very vast network to to show those properties to.
Any final questions for Barton or Harry before we go to shameless plugs?
One of the things we've seen is a hesitation on cities to allow cannabis businesses in downtown locations, which is, where most of the walkable traffic is. And it seems like that'd be a beautiful boost to most any downtown location. Are you seeing communities, villages, cities, townships relaxing their hesitation to allow cannabis businesses in their most treasured and most historic zones?
I don't see it much, but I do believe that is something that we could look forward to in the future. We are now beginning to see social consumption establishments, cannabis, and its and the way it's viewed is becoming just more accepted in our society. Finally, and that is going to continue to be a trend that progresses in the right direction. So I find it to be a certainty that cities will eventually permit marijuana facilities just like they do liquor facilities, just like they do bars and liquor stores that are often right in downtown, Main Street. So I think that eventually society will recognize that cannabis is safer than alcohol, more preferable than alcohol by many, and it should be treated like alcohol, just like Proposal 1.
And I think I've been doing enough cannabis events and enough drinking events that I can tell you that when you get a lot of cannabis folks together, it's a pretty mellow crowd as opposed to people getting all liquored up and bad things can happen. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a false equivalency that we're still seeing, right? The carryover from the reefer madness days, it still hangs with us, right?
Yeah, it does, and I think what you're going to see here in terms of downtowns is I think Hotbox Social is going to be a very good example of turning downtown Hazel Park, if you will, if you want to call it that, into kind of the cannabis entertainment mecca of Metro Detroit. There's a number of things happening within within Trucenta, the company that owns the Hotbox Social. They've acquired a number of properties in the area. They're going to turn that into kind of a destination entertainment facility that I believe many other municipalities will look at favorably, because I think a lot of these municipalities are hesitant to see it happening in their downtown. And once they see an example of what it could be like and how much it could renew some certain areas of certain downtowns, I think that they'll definitely start looking at it a lot more favorably.
Okay, I know in Muskegon, right, Dan Spiro, a lot of those cannabis shops are pretty near each other, and that works out fairly well, right?
Muskegon has been one of the leaders in their expansion on where they're going to allow this cannabis. They did a little overlay district that was like a medical mile initially, but there actually is a micro business and a consumption lounge being built currently by a prominent doctor in Muskegon. And he's going to be right downtown, right on Clay. So, yeah, I mean, you're walking distance to the big amphitheater down on Muskegon Lake.
Okay. Well, we're coming to the end of the show, and Harry and Barton are new, so we'll actually let them start. It's called our Shameless Plugs. And this is essentially where you can just talk about how folks can reach out to you, your website, however you want to do that, call you if you want. And then one last chance to plug what it is you're doing. So I'll let Harry and Barton decide who wants to take that.
Thank you very much. The Cannabis Legal Group has been delivering legal services to the industry, the commercial industry now, since it began in Michigan. And we want to continue to do so at a very high level, particularly now as the industry is changing. We're doing more work now in the buying and selling of businesses and those that are interested in investing in businesses. So we're assisting in a lot of mergers and acquisitions activity as opposed to new licensing activity. And combined with CLG Realty Advisors, we are really positioned well in order to provide lots of opportunities to those in the industry or those that want to get into the industry, do so in a more streamlined, professional, and expert manner. So we can be discovered, of course, at cannabislegalgroup.com. And then our real estate company is CLG Realty Advisors.com. Thank you.
Okay, Harry, you want to add anything?
No, Barton just said it, but I just want to say thanks for letting us be on the show. We'll see you guys around.
Quite possibly. We tend to be media sponsors for a lot of events, so I showed the flag, as it were. So, Aaron, why don't you talk about again? How can folks reach out to Bank Michigan if they want to reach out to you individually? However you want to do that, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Again, honored to be here. Honored to be here with all the distinguished guests, Barton and Harry. Thank you very much. The easiest way to get a hold of me is directly to my personal cell phone. I'm going to put that out here too. It's area code 248-961-3772. You can also go to Bank Michigan, but you can call or text me anytime.
And we'll get Aaron back next month to announce all these changes that I know are afoot that I'm not allowed to discuss. So it'll be worthwhile. Let's go with my business partner, Dan Keelan, because I know he's swamped today. So take it away.
Yeah, thanks again. So just reminder, our big 420 sponsorship expires on 420. Looking for some interested sponsors. And just a reminder, with anything anyone does with us, you're going to be part of that new SBAM program called the Michigan Marijuana Report Small Business Network. Again, I think a great opportunity to connect with businesses throughout the state who you might not otherwise know.
Very good. You have a future in video. Okay. So yeah, let's go with Dan Sparrow next.
First off, I want to say congratulations to Harry and Barton. Nice job. And if anybody's looking for any decent banking systems, get a hold of AA over at Bank Michigan. He's a great guy. Thanks to all of our wonderful sponsors again. A shout out to BAM, Body and Mind there on Apple Avenue. If you're in Muskegon, give them a shout. And then as always, Dan at hatchaplanmi.com. Thanks.
And why don't you explain? We know you never explain what Hatch a Plan is. Why don't I'll give you that opportunity right now.
We came up with Best Laid Plans was the first one just for a slogan. And then we ended up going with Hatch a Plan due to the sparrow and the eggs. And you can see in our logo there's some eggs. So that's Hatch a Plan. Help you get going from dream to ribbon cutting. That's what we say. Okay. And then our dream girl, Jamie Cooper. So the event lady. But what do you want to say about Cincy Mag?
Yeah, so we keep your eyes out for our spring issue of Cincy Magazine, which will be hitting stores over the next couple of weeks. Also, 420 is just 2 weeks away. We have our Cincy Magazine 420 grab bags. I know some of you guys are going to be getting your hands on one of those grab bags. So
and we're very excited about that. But I'm
excited too. So make sure, you on Friday, we'll be announcing our participating locations where you can pick up those bags. And then if you want to keep up to date and up to speed on all of the upcoming events we are hosting, join our free online community at connects.cincymag.com. And really quick shout out to Barton and Harry. I had the honor of seeing them yesterday, had some sushi with Harry last night, and we actually got to my 9-year-old son got a picture with the U of M basketball coach. So it was really cool. It was a nice little sushi happy hour that we had together, and a nice memorable experience for my son. So thanks.
And quite a height difference I noticed from the photograph. So
huge. I was noticing the size of foot difference there too. So yeah, a lot of difference in height. My son came up to probably about his hip.
Yeah. Well, Joanne, I believe, was like 6'9" or something in that ballpark. So
very tall.
A very tall man. So certainly last but not least is Mr. Thompson, the executive director of Michigan Normal. By the way, he never toots his own horn, so I like to toot it for him. But gosh, you're everywhere. I mean, where are you not? I'm asking, so.
Well, ask the gas station where I'm not. I'm driving a lot shorter distances now. Mr. Mike, I've got a secret, Brennan. You've been teasing us all show long with this special information that you have. But on 420, I will be at Lighten Up Provisioning Center doing one of my celebrity appearances there. They are giving away 5 pounds of cannabis, including a special 2 pounds dedicated just to the veterans community. And I believe the Hero Project will be represented there as well. So, when we start talking about the different things that you can do here in Michigan, there's a lot of opportunities for you to participate in fun things, but there's also a lot of ways you can actually do good with your cannabis dollars. And I hope people consider that on 420 during their spending holiday.
And I'm going to make that right after the show. And if you have to do the show remotely from Light It Up, that's just fine by me, because you can do the show via a smartphone. But right after the show ends on 420, I've been invited to come up. That's about an hour drive for me. So I think I'll be up there as well. Good folks. They support veterans. We support veterans. And of course, Anton Harb, our veteran spokesman for the Hero Project, will be up there as well. So the chance to meet our short little friend Anton. I'm kidding, of course. He's 6'4" or something like that. It surprised me the first time I met him. Anyway, thanks for joining us today. We'll be back next week. And next week, Jamie's bringing on some folks that we're going to be promoting for her events. And we've got a couple other surprise guests coming in that I'm working on. And so we're always available on Facebook. And then also we're available on demand after the show at mimarijuanareport.com. And I just